cutting edge of technology, which it has been doing for the last so many centuries. So obviously this is not unique to America, because in India also we have a similar thing. And that's why our Honorable Prime Minister, right from the day one, when he took over as a Prime Minister, he has been promoting innovation as one of the major vehicles for growth. And the testimony to that is the major program which he announced called Atal Innovation Mission, and Setu, that is a system which will give you employment and self-employment and training and so on. Now, fortunately, these two programs are being governed through the Niti Aayog, and I would just like to mention to you that there has been tremendous response to these two programs from various sections of our society, students, academic institutions, industries, and so on. And that's a good sign, because if the message has gone down and we are finding people coming in and really actively participating in this process, we are likely to get through this program a variety and large number of tinkering labs in the schools and colleges, and we are also likely to get incubation centers, incubation units coming in industry, coming in academia, coming in various places. But I think we have to go to the fundamentals. The fundamentals are that in spite of all this, the way we look at innovation, we use this word very loosely. Everything we think we are doing is so-called, we say it's innovation. But then we have to really go through the characteristic point that innovation is something which brings an idea to the market. Many times people say, I have innovated. I have been visiting many academic institutions. I meet many students. Sir, I have come up with this idea. I have done this innovation. I say, great. You have come to the first or the second or the third step to innovation. But you have to take this through, as we call it today, in the innovation cycle as the valley of death. And valley of death comes only when you have done your initial creative thinking, you have an heightened imagination over there, and now you are going through the process of demonstrating it in the prototype, demonstrating it in the form of its commercial viability, and then taking it to the market so it has got value, it has created value ultimately, and that's the innovation gets completed. Now, many people do not go through this and say, look, I have done innovation, but I have not been recognized for it. Many of them would like to even take a patent of the idea and say, I've got a patent, but it is not being sold in the market. I'm not getting much out of it. So what is this you're talking of, innovation adding to the economic development? So friends, we have to be very careful when we have to perpetuate this system. And that is where today's government of India's major approach is to see that the innovation cycle is completely supplemented and complemented by the efforts of the society as a whole and the government at large. And that's why if you read the speech of President Obama, it clearly says what should be the class of funding for innovation. Where should the innovation get funded from? And he says very clearly, and I fully agree with that the innovation cycle has to be funded up to what we call as, in the technology maturity level, as we call it TRL 1, 2, 3, maybe up to about 3, it has to be funded for the basic research, for the applied research, mostly by the government institutions. And the moment it has reached that point, which we call as the height in imagination, I think from there onwards, the industry, the angel investors, the incubators, the partners start coming in. And probably when we have reached and crossed what we call the valley of death, I think we should start getting support from the interested parties in taking the innovation into the market and helping the entire process. To that extent, I think the major requirement which is coming today is, how is it that we can take this innovation from our academic institutions, from our R&D laboratories into the market? Because there are a large number of academic institutions which are lacking this, what we call as research and development for value addition. We are here in Manav Rachna, and I'm sure many of you academicians must be only looking at how many publications I have been able to do and what is my H factor. But then beyond that H factor, if you want to proceed through the innovation cycle, you need to do value addition. Many of these institutions have today what we call as technology transfer centers. Now, technology transfer centers do not actually add to the innovation cycle because they become a bureaucratic process in which some IIM pass managers, they come and start saying that, look, I will take your technology and transfer it to company A and company B and so on and so forth. And sometimes these are also replaced by bureaucrats from the different departments, and then they also become technology transfer agents. But friend, there is something more to that, and that is, this has to be called a value addition center, value creation center. And value creation center has got a major role to play in this innovation cycle, and that role is that it has to take that particular idea or concept or the proof into a scale in which it can be now taken to the market. So you have to go upscaling, you have to carry out repeatability trials, so you have to make sure that it has got saleable ingredients before it can be accepted by the market in its totality. Now, that segment of activity today, the technology transfer centers of various academic institutions, even the R&D laboratories do not have. And if we have to provide that, we have to change the complete thing. Second thing is the gap which exists. There is a huge gap between the industry and the academic institutions, what the industry wants and what the academic institution can do. And that gap is both in terms of knowledge of the industry with respect to what technologies are emerging, what can change the face of their production system or their business, and the knowledge of the academicians as to what the industry wants. So that gap filling also has to be done in a major way. So it's this value creation center would be certainly doing that part also. So it's a major entity which we had to create in all these centers. Somehow, even the best of the units did not have it. And recently, in our program through Niti Aayog and also through MHRD, there's a major step being taken of creating such centers, both in the academic institutions governed by the central government to start with, and also in the research laboratories where this system does not exist. In fact, most surprising thing is that we have about 39 CSIR laboratories which are intended to take technology to the market through their innovation process of whatever it is, process innovation, or it is a design innovation, or it is whatever the kind of innovation it is, but it has to see the light of the day in the market in terms of economic activity, which is missing, and that has to be supported. This is one thing which has to be done through this process of innovation management as we are talking today.